All right, we're back. We're here in Fall River, Brian Fox, and I told you before, we wanted to talk to you about, assuming in the first segment, so many of the people who are going to be watching this are people that know you, who are very intimately aware of the type of work that you do and the type of person you are. And we're talking about the work that you're doing for the veterans, which is amazing. And now we're going to flip the script, maybe for people who don't know you, and to find out who Brian Fox is, what your interests are, and things like that. So we'll lighten up the load a little.
Sounds good.
Gorgeous studio in a converted mill. Would you call this building like that?
Renovated mill is beautiful.
Very, very beautiful spot. The aesthetics are really cool to have a studio. And just looking around, I'm just in awe of the people and that you've met and experiences and things. And I had this man cave, like a little shed, and I hung up all my pictures. And my wife would say it looked like your life threw up in here, And this is kind of, you probably have a story of every single thing in here.
Yeah.
And you've met some incredible people. What would be, if you had 2 seconds to tell somebody in an elevator, was there one? We'll take the pressure off you to have to include the Vietnam and the military stuff, but was there one particular subject, celebrity that you worked with that you think is the signature Brian Fox experience? I don't want to put you on, I'm putting you on the spot.
Everything, the only thing I can say is it's all very surreal.
Okay.
It's surreal because...
let me ask you this. Yeah. How does it work? And you're probably just going to give the greatest answer you've worked with some amazing musical acts and Eddie Vedder and all these things. How does it work? Do you do the painting first just based on like what you would see? Do they come in? Is it like when Kramer sat there on Seinfeld and like he,
the George Costanza,
like that kind of thing? How does it work? Like, do you rent Rob Gronkowski and he sits here for 5 days while you just have him? I know, I'm kidding, but like, how does that actually work?
It changes all the time. So there's no formula.
Okay.
It could be I do something first. It could be somebody calls me. It could be a collector calls me to do something, and then there's a connection there. It could be an agent. It could be the celebrity themselves that calls me. So it could be all different things. And it has been all different things. And it's always all different ways. And sometimes it's for their personal collection, like with Tom Brady, and there was a picture I did of him and his daughter after a Super Bowl win. Giselle had asked for that. So
okay. Giselle asks for that.
Well,
she calls you or she connects to you.
Tom's sister had called me and said, "Hey, look, Giselle would like to have this done, and can you get this?" So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of always a different path.
Okay.
But there's relationships there, and it's really always about trust and relationships. That's why a lot of people don't know these stories, so I don't tell them. I just kind of.
So you keep it personal.
Well, because I never post anything that's not given with permission. Or talk about things.
Unauthorized biography kind of thing.
Yeah, well, because
but you're painting it.
Yeah. But that's allowed. And there are some paintings that nobody's seen because they were just too personal for people.
Right.
And that's okay
too. That
too.
you were commissioned to do, like
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And there are things that when I visit folks' home or people's private residences, it's like, no, that's between me and them. And then other times they're like, no, you can take a picture and post this if you take a picture of this, and so.
Because if you make something, let's say you do a painting of Brady or something, a lot of people would want to buy it. Yeah. Collectors or restaurants or sports bars or things, and so in that particular case with him and his daughter, that might not be the one that people would buy outside of his family or what have
Correct.
You. But I mean, there must be something inside you as a business person to be like, hey, I'd love to create prints of this so people could have
and there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of, I think I've passed up on more opportunities than not to not do that.
Okay.
And it's not good business sense. It's not.
Right.
But it's the right thing to do.
It's respectful.
It's respectful. And you never get a chance to get your reputation back if you kind of step over that and just for money.
Right.
So there are other artists who probably make more money and they do those things. And I'm not saying that, like they sell more stuff.
If I kill you,
Yeah.
then everything goes right through the roof, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
hey,
the way
sure.
to go.
Yeah.
We can fake your death,
Yeah.
collect on it.
It's like
All
Paul
we'll talk-
McCartney and the Beatles.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about this afterwards because I got some ideas.
Yeah.
You know, faking your death. What are some stories? Do you have any like interesting or funny stories about it? Somebody looks. I'm picturing Gronk walking in and seeing something or whatever and being like, my bicep's bigger than that. Come on, Ron.
He's such a good guy. He's
I like
so
it.
fun to be with.
And I don't even mean that negatively.
No. He's such a fun guy. Like, who you see is who he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's a lot of fun to be around. He's just lighthearted and just, he's a lot of fun to be around. And when you're doing different projects with him, or if he's a subject of them, there was one time it was me, Matt Light, and Rob. And, you know, Matt played with Rob at the time. But we go to Matt's house, and we're going to work on a painting for Matt's charity. So I said, hey, so me and Rob are working on this painting, one of my paintings. And, you know, he's got a military helmet on, and he's Robbie Picasso, he started calling himself. It was just, he's just a lot of fun to be around.
Kid. He's a big kid,
you just want to be around, hang around the guy, because he is a lot of fun. But he is, like, he's like the opposite end of the spectrum versus like the military stuff. We're very serious and where Rob's a lot of fun to be around.
Yep.
And so, but then you go, you know, I've worked with UFC fighters. I've worked with, you know, the other ball players, and Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, and different musicians, and it changes all the time. And that's when I say it's very surreal. It's like all these guys have these amazing personalities, but it's you're like, I can't believe I'm just kind of running in these circles with these guys and just going, wow, you got some great stories just about Mark Wahlberg. I ended up at some of his movie premieres, and you're just like with Mark, and you're like, how did I end up here? And then, you know, over people's houses and different things like that, and just kind of like, Brian, come on by the house. It's I'm like, okay, you know, you end up doing these things. So very, very surreal, and just kind of like, wow, how did I get here? You know?
And is there one particular, if the fire alarm goes off, that you would grab and run out the door with?
No, I don't think so. I no. I mean, I like. It changes from day to day, and that's a weird answer. But if you ask another artist,
I'm asking the worst questions because
no,
it's
a
like
good question. I just
one
don't
of
have
your
good
kids,
answers.
Which one of your kids would you grab in a fire?
Yeah.
You know, it's Sophie's Choice kind of
Yeah.
stupid. You know, but
they're good questions.
Yeah,
I just don't
I
have good
get it.
answers.
No.
I don't.
You
People ask
shouldn't.
me all the time all those things, or they'll say, "How long does it take?" And I'm like, I don't know, and I should know, because for business reasons, it's good to know how much time you put into something. And my collectors, who are business guys, they're very sharp, and they're like, you should keep track of this stuff.
What was the quickest you ever did one and were shocked by how quickly it came about? Because you hear stories of like somebody who wrote a #1 song and they like, yeah, I was in the back of a cab coming from LaGuardia to my hotel, and it came to me like that, and there you go, there's Stairway to Heaven or something crazy. And
That's a good question. I did a Gene Simmons that I did in 3 days. That one.
Okay.
And it was, that doesn't happen all the time. It's just sometimes they come out. So, but it's like, there's a great quote, you know, by Picasso. Inspiration exists, but it's got to find you working. You got to work.
Right.
And that's like that with any, I mean, I'm going to change it, because you go back to one great thing about the people I work with, and Rob Gronkowski is a fantastic example, because everybody thinks what he does is he works, when he was playing, 3 hours on a Sunday, and that's it. Nobody sees all the work he does behind the scenes and how much work he does. And because of his personality is so bubbly and fun, people just think it's fun. But they never see how much work it is or how much stress there is. We've had that conversation. Steven Tyler's another one. I mean, you just think about the level of not even success he's had, but just what he's put out as far as art. Guy's always working. He's always thinking about something. These guys, you don't see how much work they put into.
And they're a slave to their success because
that I don't know.
Well, I mean, just think of Steven Tyler going on a world tour. You don't get the opportunity to be like, you know what, I just don't have it today.
Yeah. No, but that's true.
That's what I mean.
They,
so you gotta bring your magic every day.
But it's work, and that's what I'm saying. We don't see as fans of anything. We only see the tip of the iceberg. When they're on stage, when they're playing their game, when they're in the movie. We don't see all the work and all the BS that goes behind the scenes. And I would say one of the amazing opportunities I've had is to see how much work, or to just compare notes and go, you guys work really, 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 really hard. We see the success of it on the field or whatever it is. So in that sense, sometimes they have these amazing games or whatever, these movies come out or a hit song comes out of what they do, but it's because of all the years and decades of work they've put in, it makes it look easy. So sometimes a painting comes out good. Most of the time they're torture and they kind of, you're like, oh, it's just frustrating. But you know, it's always kind of a
Was
process.
there ever a painting you just couldn't get get through?
Oh,
You
a lot of
couldn't
them.
finish?
Oh, there's a ton of them.
And then you just, how do you abandon that? Because I'm sure a guy like you is like, I'm not giving up on this.
Well,
or
I try not to give up, but at the same time, you just feel like, and
it's just not there.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot. Every artist is going to tell you this. So there was one painting I did, and it was an Eddie Vedder painting, and I'm just a fan of Pearl Jam. So I'm like, I just want to paint this. It was for me, but it wasn't coming out right, and I worked on it for a year, on and off, and the face wasn't right, and it was just off, just enough to go, it's not really him. But I got so frustrated with it, I took a blowtorch to it and burned it, and I was just like.
There's the artist, right?
Well,
there.
but it felt good to do it.
That's the scene in the movie of the Brian Fox story.
Wow, but it doesn't make any sense business.
Wait,
wise.
is Brian Fox story? Is that another Brian song? Or I'm thinking
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
hold on, I can't name it that. But I just, as I said, I'm like, that sounds really good. The Brian Fox,
Yeah, no, it'd be
movie
very
of the
boring.
week.
Yeah.
You know, okay, no, it wouldn't be
very
trust me.
nerdy and boring.
So you burned it, which is like a typical.
just felt
That's a
good.
rock star right there.
Well, it just felt good.
Okay.
Because it was more. I was so sick of looking at this thing, and I even had somebody go, "I would buy it." I'm like, "No," because then it would be out there. So anyway, there's a frustration level on it. And then times that by how many paintings you're working on or at the same time. So it's like I always try to relate it to like a contractor building houses. He doesn't build one house start to finish. He wouldn't be able to pay his rent. He wouldn't pay his bills. He's got to work on 10. And that's why people always go, how come my stuff's not done? It takes a lot longer than you said. Yeah. I know, because I'm doing the same thing. You're working on projects for this one, that one, this one, and another one comes in, oh, I'm going to take that project. But if one project is not going well, or it's in that frustrating stage, and they all go through it, it's a ripple effect. So you're dealing with 20 paintings that are all pissing you off or frustrating you.
If you're having a bad day, can you paint?
You have to force through it, but it doesn't mean it's going to be your best day.
But I mean, do you also recognize, like, I'm not at my best right now, and I got to walk out of here, and maybe a legitimate day of work for you is just maybe going for a run or going in the park or something.
Yeah, that has to happen.
You have to do that.
Yeah, and you feel, coming from the 9-to-5 world, you feel guilty doing that because you think I should be working.
Right.
But the more you talk to other artists who understand the process better than I do, they go, no. You have to set this aside. There's a friend of mine, his name's Chuck, right?
Sounds like a good guy.
He's a good guy. Okay. But he comes in and he'll tell, and it's weird because he'll say, take that, don't look at this painting for a week. I'm like, but I need to finish it. He goes, turn that painting around, don't look at it for a week.
And he's an artist?
Oh, yeah, he's an artist.
So
he understands the process better than I do. And so I trust what he says. And I said, well, what do you mean? I got to get this done. So my 9-to-5 mentality is conflicted with what he's telling me. But I do. I'll take the painting, I'll turn it around, I won't look at it, or work on it for a week. So when you turn it back around, you now start to see some of the problems you couldn't see through because you were too close to the problem. And we all do it in our own professions. It's the same thing. So that's why, so when you say go for a run, go for a walk, oh yeah, I got to get out and go for a walk. Or sometimes I'm not working at 9 o'clock in the morning, but I'm working at 9 o'clock at night because it's just a better flow.
And you, I remember you showing me like a sketch pad that you would have. So I'm sure you have your system for 3 in the morning when you wake up in an inspiration or something. You putting something out there. That's because you paint only here, or you do the
anywhere.
Anywhere.
So I'll paint at home too because I'll have stuff at home. Just I gotta work. Let's say it's snowing out, and I can't. It's easier just to work from home. I'm working on something different. I can't drag this painting.
Always on a canvas, or you do murals or stuff like that?
All different stuff. So I have probably hundreds of sketchbooks that I'll take, and they all have all different, whether they're scribbles with ideas, I got to get this idea down, that 3 o'clock in the morning kind of thing, or...
But my point is, would you, if the town called you to do the side of a building, is that a separate kind of artistic ask? Or is that something that, would you do that? Or like, are you known for I know you, and I would assume you're known for the canvas painting. Your skill could be used in so many different ways. Murals on a wall.
I think when I first started, you take anything to pay the bills.
Okay.
So when I was first, when my wife was working, and I was doing anything to bring in money to the house, because now like I said, the freelance work dried up in a week. Now I have nothing. So I'm like, wait, you want me to draw a tattoo for you? I'll draw a tattoo.
Face
50
painting?
bucks. Whatever you wanted me to do,
right.
I'll be like, hey, I'm going to contribute to the house.
Yeah.
So, but just work every day, and you're trying all these different ideas. So you would do the mural, you would do the portrait of the cat or the.
And by the way, how old were you when you knew that you were talented and you had a gift?
I was a kid, so you really want to go back to when my parents, I was never told to get a real job, never told to. My parents were like, you're going to go to school for art. I was the first person to go to college for in my entire family.
Right.
So that was not like they knew what they were doing.
Do you think you needed college to do what you do?
College was good.
Or your experience was good anyway, no
The
matter
experience
what?
always teaches you more.
Yeah, right.
And college, that's a whole different question that I don't think colleges they charge so much and they don't prepare artists
Yeah.
to survive on what they're
Right.
trying to teach you. That's a different conversation. But it helped me in honing a bit of my skill for sure, but I learned so much more afterwards by studying with other artists too. Like I'm still learning. And to not be humble enough to go, I got more to learn is very foolish in any field. But there's so much more to learn. There's so much more if you just listen to other artists, go, how did you do that? Or you can always learn more. So there's that to it. So, and that comes into going, hey, turn this painting around for a week because you're burnt out from it and you're not seeing it.
Right.
So you're going, I didn't think of it that way. So that does, but if you go, I know what I'm doing, you're not going to listen to that person who really knows better than I do. So
The word artist is thrown around way, way too much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so do you feel that what you do here, or at least this style of painting, is becoming a lost art, where so many people now who might have your skill are going into graphic design or all computer animation or things like that? Like, is this industry flourishing with artists that have been doing this for so long? I'm not asking it the right way, but like, because I would imagine your stock is pretty high because people aren't doing this as much. Like, I mean, the world is so digital that people are and I think this is the base stuff that people need to know when they're an artist. Don't let the ease of creating something on a computer replace the passion and the ability to tell a story through your medium.
yeah, but that's two different things.
Yeah.
So again, I worked in the commercial field. So the digital stuff was always there, but it was different. Meaning it was the computer art, we'll call it, first of all. And that has its place. And you're going to get paid for doing that. And that's it. This might be a different, where an artist needs to create. That's apples and oranges, where you're going, hey, I need to pay my bills, and here's this tool to create this digital artwork, or somebody needs an illustration in a magazine, or somebody wants a book cover, or somebody wants, okay. There's definitely differences in that. They're just different. I don't, one's not better than the other,
Sure.
but it's different. I lean this way because it satisfies something internally for me, but that doesn't make what they do bad. Or even graphic design is an art form. It's a whole different art form. And there are some people out there who are phenomenal at it that I could, just because you're an artist, doesn't mean you can do all these forms of
Right.
art.
Yeah.
There's different, right? It's like,
Sure.
oh, you're an athlete, but it doesn't mean you can play soccer just because you play football. Still both great,
Yeah.
just different. So
if you weren't an artist, was there anything else you were pretending to be when you were a kid? A cowboy, a surgeon?
no,
No?
no,
Always
no.
always
I
art?
mean, I love sports too, but like any kid.
You're a
out
tall
in-
guy,
out in the
basketball,
street.
do you ever
Yeah, well,
do
but
that?
I'm just talking out in the street stuff.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Always playing, always doing something, always running around, being active, like everybody is, right? So, but go back to, my parents had kind of encouraged me, kids always do what they're encouraged to do, right? Art happened to be one of them. When you get, if somebody were to say to you, oh, that sucks, or this and that, it would dry up, like anything. So because I was encouraged at a young age, I think I was continued to move in that direction throughout anything. You kind of go, well, that's just really what I can do. And you kind of find your way. There's nobody really told you. And back then it was like, you didn't know how to get a job being an artist. It was like, no, you fill out a resume, you send out 3 of them, you get a job, you retire. That's the blue collar area we live in. And that's kind of, the path most people looked for, right?
You talk about teaching and learning and getting into this and encouragement from your parents. And I've been very reflective of life. You get to my age, 52, I don't know how impolite to ask somebody of their age, and I look back at my career and I think that my value to teach others is not in what I've been able to achieve, it's what I've been able to push through or overcome. And I feel that aspect is missing in a lot of education and inspiration for young people, because you are always going to see what the end result is. Like, this is, you want to be an artist, here's what you can do. As opposed to the moments the 10,000 moments you almost gave up, or decided that it wasn't worth it, or it was too hard, or the pressure was too much. Were there any pivotal moments in your career or life that you can recall that were just, you look back and you go, good for you, Brian, you pushed through that. You didn't think you would, but you did. And you were able to persevere or get through it. Forks in the road that you took the right one.
That's a good question. I think there's always these forks in the road. There's a lot of those things. When you look back, you go, wow, there was a lot that you got through. But you're just kind of bumping along and you don't realize you're going through it. And you always look around, always, always, always. And you always have other people helping you. Whether that's your parents at a young age, or your family, or people you love or who love you, or good friends. You don't get anywhere in life without those people. So when I look back at those forks in the road, there are always those people, right? Oh, and I'm like you said, spiritual guy. I believe in God. Always God there for me. And even looking back when you don't realize, you're going, oh. So those moments, I think that is understanding that there's this supporting cast that not everybody gives them credit for. They're always there. And that changes. There's always those constants, and we'll say your parents and the people, my wife. But prior to that, friends, siblings, my brothers. And you start to go, oh, okay. They've helped me get through this. They're always there. We'll call them the supporting cast, but they're super important. Without them, you don't get anywhere. Now, being an artist, I'm a soul guy, and I get a lot of credit for doing all these things. But nobody sees the behind-the-scenes people, like I've just mentioned.
Right.
So they're always there. And to ask your other question about, and I was born with this ability, but everybody has an ability. Everybody, whether it's accounting, whether it's science, whether it's engineering, everybody has these abilities, and they're talents. Mine just happens to be with paint, but whether it's graphic design, people are not born with these talents by mistake, right? Now, they may not always want to use them to pay their bills with, because it may take the joy away. But these talents are not by mistake. So I try to always encourage people to go, everybody has a talent. Try to keep nourishing that talent. Everybody has one.
So you met a lot of incredible people, celebrities, the obvious Bradys and Mark Wahlbergs and all these people who would be a dream for anybody to meet. As an artist, was there anybody that you looked towards that you said, or if you met alive or passed away, that you were inspired by, that you took some cues from, or did it just come from you? Like, is there anybody there that you could say that, oh, you know what, I'm such a Pablo Picasso fan, or I'm such a Andy Warhol guy, or something? Like, I mean, is there anybody like that
like a famous artist?
Yes and no. I mean, I always wonder, even in my career starting out, you thinking of different comedians or hosts and stuff that you wanted to be. I told you Larry Bird, Magic Johnson story prior of, like, when I loved basketball. I still love basketball. You realize you're never going to go to the NBA, but you had posters of Larry Bird on your wall, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Carl Yastrzemski, these kind of things. Who was that? Did you have, was that something?
And I think it's, to answer that question, what I love to talk about is the process. And the process is the process for anybody and anything. So we go back to the football players, or Rob Gronkowski, or even Steven Tyler. I remember sitting and talking with him one day and said, how do you stay so creatively productive?
Rob asked you that?
No, I asked Steven Tyler.
Oh, okay.
So there's a process, and there's another a dear friend of mine, Stephen Manchester, who's an author, who I think you should like to talk to.
Yep.
We always talk process. He's a writer, but there's a process. And not everybody understands the process. Let's say, somebody who's in an office and works in It's not the same conversations. Not wrong, not right, but not the same conversation. So I look for those people who kind of speak my language, and that's the language I'm looking for. Going, how do you do this? And he was just, and Steven Tyler's on a mountaintop, not many people are, meaning he has so many people pulling at him on so many different directions we don't see, that how does he still stay true to his artistic self? So that's my question to people like that. And there was another guy, he did a book series called Dinotopia. James Gurney is his name. And I was looking forward to meeting him because, again, he was just this guy who just talks about his process all the time, and he's this amazing artist, and just wonderful to talk to him and his wife. But I look for that and go, how do you keep creating and talk, keep whatever it is that I'm going to ask them. That's what I kind of search out and look for. And it can be an athlete. It can be, if you do your research on Mark Wahlberg, the guy's a crazy workout guy. I mean, the guy's a workaholic.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you're going, okay, he doesn't just fall into this. He works. Like, we don't see it all. So I'm curious about that process. And you know what I mean? And I haven't had that conversation with Mark at all, but those are the conversations I do like to have with anybody, other artists and other, like, how do you do this? And let me see your sketchbook if you're an artist. And how do you start with, let me see your, and it just helps because you start to realize, one, you're not alone. They deal with the same struggles you deal with, regardless of where they are on their road to success or not. And it's that sort of stuff that I strive to look for and get excited about, like a little kid. Like, you know what I mean? It's all nerdy conversations to me.
Oh, for sure. And I think to myself, if I were to get lucky enough to own a DeLorean and get it to the right gigawatts or gigawatts or whatever to go back in time, I would love to be searching for, seeing that almost homeless Walt Disney coming up with at the moment of spark, right? Yeah. And I think the story is he sees a rat running across his apartment or something, and that kind of, whoa, that moment changed the world. Yeah. Or a Beatle sketching down a song, and Steven Tyler delivering a pizza and then going over to the garage to meet up with the rest of the band and be like, I got an idea for a song, here's Dream On, whatever.
Yeah, however it came about.
That spark of inspiration that at the time means almost nothing until it becomes everything.
Yeah.
And that to me is the thing that interests me the most. The blank canvas. Yeah. This was once just a white canvas.
Yep. Mine just happens to be this, where I'm more interested in the process, whoever's artwork it is. Like I said, authors or even guys at the top of their field. I want to know, like, I'm about the process. That's interesting to me. I love just hearing about that stuff because that's inspiring to me. Yeah. That stuff.
So before we wrap up, I mean, what would be, do you have a Brian list, bucket list of like hopeful accomplishments that you would like to do that you think would be next? Is there a subject you'd want to paint? A pope? Like meet that kind of thing. Like I don't know.
It changes all the time with my interests. So I'm like a little kid. You know what I mean? If you ask me what my favorite dessert is, on Wednesday it could be ice cream, and on Sunday it's chocolate chip cookies. It's like I like them, but it does change. And I think that the consistent thing that I look for is people who inspire me, or good people I want to work with or align myself with, whether it's their charity or what they do for other people. It's like, that's kind of really the barometer of where I go with, like, hey, I would really like to work with this particular person because they help these people out. And you get so much more out of giving than it really, really is. When I first started, one of the first things I did was, I didn't have any money and I was trying to break into whatever. I love sports, that's why I started painting them. And at the time, it was 2004, Kurt Schilling came in. He was doing something with the ALS folks, the foundation. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what that was at the time. I only paid attention because I was a Red Sox fan, and here's a Red Sox guy talking about ALS. He educated me because it was something he was into. Mm. So long story short, I ended up donating a few years in a row to the ALS Foundation because of Kurt Schilling and the Red Sox and my love for sports. But you start to now realize, you're going, whoa, there's a whole group of people here who these people help out, and you're going, well, how can I help? And then you start to realize, as much as I'm complaining about I don't have any money or I'm need to make money, you start to go, these people are blowing in a tube to get around their house. Mm. And a year later, a lot of them aren't there anymore. So you start to go, I got to shut up and stop my bitching and go, how can I help? And you can always help somebody. I mean, there's so many people to help. So I use that as a perfect example because you put something small, like a painting, in the right hands of somebody bigger, they can do so much more with it. So my goal is to find a way to kind of contribute a little bit and put it in the hands of these people who can do a lot with it. Steven Tyler he has these charity events, the Janie's Fund, out in LA and Hollywood. And I've been out there many times, and the room that gets filled and what they raise for abused girls is incredible. It's incredible. And you go, I just want to be a little part of that. And because what's the old, when we were kids, at Christmas time, better to give than receive. And you think as a kid, you're going, oh, I want my gifts. It is true. That's 100% true. It's better to give than to receive. And I almost feel guilty because you're like, God, I feel good about this. You're like, you walk away going, you help somebody else out. People don't always know it either. Like, but that's what it's about. So when you say about who do I want to work with, it's continually doing things like that.
And the bigger picture of asking the questions of the meaning of life, and why is there suffering? And if not for suffering, art wouldn't even be a thing, I don't think, right? Because I mean, it's just not doing a sunset.
There's some people that is though.
It's doing this.
Yeah.
Well, I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I see a sunset on a painting, and granted, I don't want to diminish the person that's doing this, but it's like hotel room art, or like.
Well, it can be, but I've seen
I get it.
Yeah,
and you're defending your industry.
Yeah, because there's some people out there that just go, it's breathtaking.
Right,
Yeah.
And I get it, and I, but then you hear a song that moves you. A movie about a whole sunset is not going to be entertaining.
Yeah, probably not.
But maybe the sunset is the signature punctuation mark on an event or whatever it is, and I just think that your work. It's hard to even do this because I'm like gazing around the room and I'm like getting lost in paintings.
It's all paint by numbers,
right? Oh yeah, okay, I see it. 11, 20 for the Celtics, but I can tell, and maybe I don't, just because I follow you so much, I can see a painting and I would swear if I saw it in Wichita, Kansas, I'd go, that's a Brian Fox painting. Like, do you feel you're very unique?
I don't think that, but people have said that, and I think all artists have, and what they'll call is their voice or their language, we'll call it, and you start to recognize, because I follow a lot of artists on let's say social media, and you can tell their work, whether it's just who they are, it's their voice, right? So you're going, oh, that's this person, and there's something about, and we all have it. It's like you have your voices are. You pick up the phone. If I didn't know it was you, it'd be like, hey, Chuck, what's going on? I know your voice.
Right.
Right. It's the same thing.
And you see an artist do something, and and I don't know your world. I guess I do. I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think that there's very similar experiences here. But if you see another artist, and you go, wow, how did they do that? Like, are you blown away by somebody else?
Every day when you start, and they even tell you now, there's almost like these self-help things. Don't look at other artists' works too long because you just start to feel terrible about yourself. And it's true because you go, look how good this person is. Look how good that person is. Look at it. And you're going, oh my goodness, like there's so much talent out there. And that's what I'm saying. Like you start to realize you're going, there's so many talented people out there. And life is so short. There's just not enough time to learn it all, and there's not enough time to understand it all, and there's just, it's easy to stay humble because you go, I don't know enough, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? It's like there's just so much more to learn.
Thank you so much. I mean, this was a phenomenal.
Awesome. It was great to see you. I was looking forward to seeing you.